Hello, 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 everyone. How are we doing today? Welcome to Building Character once again. Happy to be here. I'm excited about today's stream, actually, because I've been weirdly obsessed with what we're going to do. But first things first, we are proud members of the D20 Radio Network, as well as partnered with Fool's Moon Entertainment. They have some charity games coming up. I posted something about that on our Instagram coming up in May, so check that out. We are also affiliated with Metallic Dice Games. Enter the code Story Told 10 into your order to receive 10% off. I'm actually going to be using some of them tonight. This is the little Cortex set I made, and they're very tiny, very tiny. These dice, the regular dice are regular size, but I ordered like a little mini set for Cortex because I thought I'd be cute, and they're very cute. I like them. Let's see. So tonight, we are going to be looking at the new game, Tales of Xadia. One second, I'll pull this cover up. I thought I had it up, but I don't. um, where did it go? One second. My iPad decided the other day to completely take off all my PDFs and put them right back on. So now everything I was looking at is completely out of order and messed up. So, hello, Stephen. How you doing? So we're going to be looking at Tales of Xadia. Right now it's only PDF, but I believe the physical game is shipping out end of April, early May. Don't quote me on that. That's just a guess based on kind of stuff I've inferred. But a little about Tales of Xadia. It is the first splat/source book for Cortex Prime by Cam Banks, which if you've ever played like Smallville or Firefly or Leverage, and there's one other I'm blanking on. That was the beginnings of Cortex, and Cortex works with the 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So it's most of a D20 set, minus the percentile die and the D20. And what you do is you have ratings and all your stats and you build your pool. And as we go through this, I'll kind of explain what this means when you build your pool to then take that into successes and stuff. So another little thing, Tales of Xadia is based off the Dragon Prince show on Netflix, which is getting a 4th season soon. We know another season's coming, we don't know what. I think 7 seasons are planned. And it's a really cool setting. You have 6 primal types of magic. Let's see, Earth. Oh, God, I could just tell you because I could open the book. Sun, Moon, and Stars, Earth, Sky, and Sea. And then you have a 7th type that humans use called Dark Magic, and basically, Dark Magic is when humans suck the living life force out of a magical creature and use it to power a spell. It's real cute. And in this game, you can play a variety of different character types. There's 5 human kingdoms, and then there's 6 different elf types, but we only have 4 of them in this book. There's allusions that a future source book might get the other 2 being sea elves and star elves. So we won't really have to get into those. So I have something I'm going to do a little different tonight. This game offers you 2 different kind of ways to make a character. There is the guided way where you roll things and stuff is put to chance in some respects. And then there's the regular character creation, which is just making one from the fly. So I'm going to do a guided one, and then I'm going to kind of make my own, kind of make the simpler option than the more complex option, just so we can kind of see it, because this character creation process doesn't take a long time at all. Okay, so you're seeing here on the, I suppose, right-hand side of the screen, I think that's where that's showing up. I hope that's where that's showing up. The character sheet. And we have 2 here, 2 blank ones. They'll be posted on the blog, like they always are. And guided. So first things first, you'll see, if you have the PDF, it's on page 114. 113, I'm sorry. 119 of the PDF, 113 of the book. You roll for your community, and this kind of determines if you're going to be an elf or a human and what type of or what country of which you're from. And it's a D9, so we'll pull up a little D10 here and we will roll this, excluding it if we get a 10. It's a 1, so we'll make a Delbarian. So let's just look and see what a Delbarian is exactly. Get to the Gazetteer. This game does require a little bit of flipping around through the book. That's why I can't wait for the physical book. I feel like it's going to be easier. So Delbar is known for mountainous regions, tundras, and poets. Let's see. The king was just assassinated, but we know that from the show. But people don't typically quarrel with Delbarians at all. It says Delbarians are known to have a cold indifference towards each other, and they're used to clear and open mountain air. So they're kind of very direct, clear people, no nonsense, pragmatic. So I'm going to kind of keep that in mind with making my character. I might go against type with this. We'll see how this kind of shakes out. So Cortex functions a little differently in that you have things called distinctions. And that's kind of what we're building first. And there's going to be a kind of a two-step process to what I'm doing here. So you're going to go down here to the character sheet where it says Kindred. You're going to put I'm going to put Delbarian. And it says here that a Delbarian receives +1 liberty. Okay, so that's going to take us up into our values. And values are really interesting because it's kind of half of your core dice pool. And these are kind of ideas and themes that are specific to Tales of Xadia and kind of help it function in a lot of respects. Other Cortex games are going to use different values. They might not use values at all. They might call them something different. Cortex is a very modular system, and the fact that the core book for it gives you all these little things, sub-modules, I guess, that you can plug in or unplug or mix with other things to create a game that's entirely specific to your table. I'm getting to that, Stephen. What is liberty indeed? Let me find the section. Again, flipping through a PDF is not always fun. Okay, so liberty. Liberty is resisting the control of others. It's about freedom and autonomy. It says here in the book, you're motivated by a world without oppression or suppression. If you watch the show, it's one of Callum's most important values. You also have devotion, which is being obligated to someone or something. Glory is wanting to be celebrated. You're all good, Steven. You're all good. I thought you were sassing me, to be fair. Justice is being compelled to fix what's wrong. Like, a lot of these are very self-explanatory, but there is nuance to them. Mastery is wanting to rise above your own limits, wanting to be the best at something. And truth is seeking out all the answers. While we're here, though, let's look at attributes, too, because that's going to come up in a minute. Agility is hand-eye coordination. Awareness is perceptions. Influence is your presence and persuasiveness and getting people to do things. It's a very social attribute. Intellect is the power of your mind. Spirit is your resolve, emotional reserves, your willpower, and strength is brute physical fitness and power. Okay, so now that we have those covered, we're going to go back to where we were, and we decided Delbarian, you get the +1 to liberty. Now, I'm going to be rolling a D8 this time for the family. And family's not exactly the right word. It's more of your temperament. No, that's not even right either. Social class is a much better option for that. Elves only can take elf, and that has to do with their distinctions. But for example, in family for humans, you have city folk, free folk, noble, hinterlander, traditionalist, exile, and isolationist. Those being both broad and narrow, kind of how you want to interpret those. And there are SFX that you can choose that tie into those if you wanted to highlight something like that. And we'll go into SFX here when we get to it. That's kind of the end of the character creation process. So let's see, I rolled another 1. So he's a city folk. So he's a Dolbarian city folk. And city folk get +1 mastery. So already I know he values freedom and success. We'll see kind of what that turns into. Next thing is you choose a vocation and an adjective. There's a table in here, and you roll a d6 and a d8, so I'll pull those out real quick. And this is going to determine by vocation, and that's going to be once we scroll down here. Once we scroll down here, you'll see the vocation. You'll see that 8. That is your... If that distinction comes up, that's the die you add for it. Okay, so I rolled a 7 on the d8 and a 2 on the d6. So that's telling me he's a teacher. So we'll put teacher here. And teachers get... I lost it. +1 truth. So he's a good guy. Or she. I haven't decided yet. I think I might actually make this character female. I haven't done a really good, strong female character in a while. So I like this liberty, mastery, truth. We'll find out what kind of teacher here in just a second when we roll for the adjective. This time it's a d10 and a d6. So a 1 on the d10 and a 6 on the d6. A brooding teacher. Ooh, she's thoughtful and moody and haunted. I like it. And we can kind of decide what that means, giving her another level of truth. I'll go scroll up here. I haven't thought of a name for her, but I do know she, her, for the pronouns. And there's some Dolbarian characters that we can kind of give name ideas for. You'll also see things about magical vocations, which I'm not going to do for her. I might do that for the second character. I was thinking kind of a mage for that one. Location-based adjectives. Now you choose a quirk, and for that you're going to roll a d4 and a d10 in this guided character creation. I'm kind of interested in what her dark secret might be. And I rolled a 4 and a 5. A 4 on the d4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I tried and I failed. So something happened, and for all her wanting of success, it didn't work out. Filed. I-F-A-I-O. There we go. Now they get a mastery and a truth. So she's becoming very, very, very focused on this, and I rather like it. Now, just so you know, when you're making a starting character for Tales of Xadia, nothing can go higher than a D10. Because D12 is the max. And they want you to have... a sense of growth with these characters too. Segrid, maybe. I'll think about that. I don't have another name yet, so that could work. Next, you assign your attributes, and this wants you to make it gives you 2 options: a focused arrangement and a versatile arrangement. A focused arrangement gives you 2 attributes at a D10, which is the max you can start with, but you get 1 at a D4. And a versatile arrangement gives you 1 at D10, 3 D8s, and a D6, and that's the die you'll use to build your pool. I'm thinking, though, that for this truth-obsessed teacher, that I kind of want to go focused. So we're going to go intellect D10, and we're going to go spirit D10. Boom. I think maybe influence, let's keep it the D4. I kind of like that the brooding nature she has is a little off-putting, maybe. But that gives us 2 D8s and a D6. I'm going to put the D6 in strength. It doesn't really make much sense for a teacher, like an academic teacher, to be like a physical powerhouse. I mean, but your mileage may vary. And I think I'm going to put the 2 D8s into agility and awareness. I think that makes sense for her. Okay. So, just moving forward here. Okay, so now we go back to values. So everything that starts at a D4 counts as a point. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 initial points. You get 2 steps and values from your kindred distinction, 2 steps in values, and 2 steps from quirks. So that should be 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. Cool. Now you have 3 more steps that you can add to. I kind of like this idea of devotion. She's probably devoted to some kind of school or area of knowledge or type of knowledge. I think liberty could go up a little bit. And I think justice could go up. I don't really see her wanting glory necessarily. I don't think she necessarily needs to be remembered by the annals of history. Okay, so next is kind of more complicated, and I'm going to think about it a little bit. I might do a couple of these. You see here to the right of values, these statements. These are your value statements. And from what I understand, this has to... it can give you a bonus. So if something applies to your statement, like so say something applied to my truth statement at D10, I could step it up, which means I could, instead of using a D10, I could use a D12 for the scene, or let me double check. Okay, so for until the rest of the session, I cannot I'm misspeaking. Value statements can affect the die that you have one way or another. I know they can step down, but I think they can also help you step up too. I might be misspeaking. Okay, but I'm not sure what these are yet. So next thing are specialties and assets. Specialties are very hyper-specific skills that you have that you will add this die to into your pool to hope for a better outcome. Assets are people, places, things that you have at your disposal in one way or another. So, let's see. There's a better list in here somewhere for doing this. Okay. You start with 1 at a D8 and 1 at a D6, and then you get more points to spend. But let's start with these first 2. Let's see. I think that... I think going with a specialty of teaching is a little too on the nose. But I kind of like this idea of a specialty being like a D8 in history. And then I'll have an asset as a D6. And I know I said guiding, but I'm choosing these specialties. There is a specialty list here. Let's actually see what it looks like. It is a D6 and a D10. Who knows what her specialty might be? So a 9 on the D10 and a 2 on the D6. Well, I don't like cooking, so I'm going to go ahead and choose a history here, which is the one right below it. Again, this is a guided version of the character creation, but always go with how it starts to get more interesting to you. But I will roll for her asset. You never know what that's going to look like. So this time it's a D12. Ooh, breaking it out. And a D8. The D12, I got a 3, and I got an 8. Diary of Animal Prints. I kind of like this. That's like a D6. That could be interesting out on an adventure. And it weirdly kind of fits. One second. Okay. Ooh, my spacebar hates me today. And I'm not even being facetious. This spacebar and I have had words today. It just, like, doesn't want to work sometimes. I should probably take it in. Okay, so now this is where the tricky part comes in, and I wish the book did explain it a little bit better, but it is in there. You just have to go to like page 121, and that kind of talks to you about like how to further develop this. So you have a couple options here. You could add another specialty and another asset, both at D6. You could do two more specialties at D6. You could do two assets at D6. I could step up this asset to D8 and then add an asset or specialty at D6. Or I could, yeah, those are basically kind of my three options. But I have three steps to do from a D6, more or less. I know that's not necessarily the most helpful. Um, I kind of want a specialty of. No. I like the idea of poetry. But we're also going to do another D6 asset. Ah. And your assets in game will likely change. There's also even rules in here for temporary assets. Let's see. Let's do that D8 and D12 again. I like the random assets. 5 and 2. So 5 on the D8. That doesn't make any sense. It says caltrops, but I have no idea why she'd have caltrops. So we're going to go coffee and tea. Because who doesn't like coffee and tea? Oh, coffee and tea kit. That makes sense for a professor of history, right? I think so. Okay, so I'm going to do distinctions and then I'm going to define some of these value statements. And again, the book even suggests that if you want to wait a game to define those so you can better understand your character, that's cool. There's even suggestions in here for after the first session if you want to change something to go ahead and change that. It's all very free-form and communicative with your table, with your GM, which I really like. I think it's great. Okay, but so distinctions are in the back of the book in further detail. So you start with your kindred distinctions, and there's going to be a lot of them, and most of them are what they call locked. You start with 2 unlocked, and you'll have all your distinctions listed from all your, or you'll have all your SFX rather, uh, from each distinction listed. And what I like to do is I don't put all of them in there. I just put the ones that you have unlocked. But what I do when I'm building a character is put all of them there and start cutting away the ones I don't so I can really get to the essence of this character. What I know is that she's a history teacher who failed at something great. Maybe she got fired, or maybe she just tried to go on an adventure and it bombed. I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm going to see what these distinctions are so I can get a little bit better idea. Get a little bit better of an idea. So Delbarian City Folk has hunting party. And that is something like if you have a lot of allies, it lets you add stuff to your dice pool based on your allies. You have resolute, add one of your stress dice to a test or challenge, step down that stress afterwards. Your stress kind of is your health track in some respects. And basically, you can use your stress to prove your point and then step it down afterwards. Because if you have too much stress, you start getting trauma, and it's a whole thing, and you don't want trauma because it's harder to heal from. And then Tall Tales, when you win a contest, you can choose to keep an additional effect die to create an asset yourself. I really don't see her as really having any of those, but we're going to go to City Folk. Busybody lets you spend plot points to, or lets you interfere in a contest without spending a plot point. Plot points are like inspiration, kind of like in D&D. When you use them, it lets you kind of like muck with the narrative a little bit. You have Hearth and Home. Enjoy the comforts of civilization during a recovery scene. You can step a stress down twice instead of once. That's kind of cool. But I don't think that's quite right for her. But then you have Skilled. You can spend a plot point to step up or double a specialty. That's really cool. And I think that's probably one I'm going to take because I see her as being very skilled. But we'll see. Because now we go into Vocation. And let's see. You have less SFX with this. You have one for each of them. Your kindred distinctions give you 6, and then it's 2, 2, or 2, then it's 6, 2, and 1. Yes, because you have 9 distinctions, or 3 distinctions, 9 SFX based on this. And then, so it's 6, 2, 1. Yeah, okay, cool. I can count, I promise. So brooding, bad to the bone. You can recover either afraid or exhausted or insecure stress when your actions create a bad situation. I don't think that actually works too well for her. But teacher, 1 to grow on. When an ally is building their growth pool, you may give them one of your own growth dice. If they fail to roll, regain the die after growth is completed. That's interesting. But I don't know if that's right because she failed at something. So I'm going to go look at this quirk distinction. And I think that might be what I like. This reminds me, you can spend a plot point to remember a past mistake and what you learned from it, giving yourself or an ally an 8 asset for a single test con. Ooh, yes, I tried and failed. So this one's called This Reminds Me. This reminds me. Okay, so, like, that's where her teacher comes in, I think, is, like, she goes, this reminds me, and she gives these lessons, and, like, history repeating itself, and I kind of like this idea. So that, like, takes me into value statements, and truth is one of my big ones. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do 3. I think I'm going to do my 2 D10s and my D8, and that way, if you choose to play Tales of Xadia and want to play with this character, you can assign some of your own, change anything you want, obviously, but I think that's what I'm going to do. So truth is, history always repeats itself. Yeah. Oh, I was talking about my attribute numbers earlier. Okay, I think I'm just going to do truth and mastery. Let's see, mastery with a history teacher. To be a part of history is to direct the way it goes. You see my typing, guys? Isn't it wonderful? Oh, this is embarrassing. But you know what? We're all in this together, aren't we? Edit on the fly. Direct. How we doing out there? We having a good evening, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me again tonight. I know this is late, but I'm an insomniac, and I figure a lot of other people might be too, so that's why I do it here, because it's a nice way to ring in a Monday. To be. As you notice, I also capitalize weird letters. It's part of my charm, I think. Okay. So then, if you look at the rest of the sheet, you'll see like a lot of other stuff. Again, you do have more SFX than that. This is for the ease, like just ease. Your name goes here. Plot points because you gain and spend those like a currency in the game. Why is this freaking out? A bit of bio. If you're a mage, you have spells, goals that you want to accomplish that also have a die rating. That's not really part of the initial character creation. That's something that comes later. Relationships, which are like temporary assets, I think. This is your stress and your growth, and I'm still learning how growth works, but like what you earn certain types of die and they can be used to buy other things. Not quite what we're here for today. This is really cool because it also includes like reference sheets on like how to gain plot points, spending plot points, how to build a dice pool. So you'll see right here, when rolling in a test, contest, or challenge, build a dice pool using your traits. Always include one of each of an attribute, a value, and a distinction. Remember, those are at D8. You can use especially or one or more assets. So why don't we look at that and build a dice pool real quick before we make the second character. So let's see. Let's say I want to do something really teachy. So I would basically look at this, and I want to have intellect. So I'll do a D10, but I also really want to focus on truth. I'd add another D10 in there. I'd add in brooding teacher for a D8, and then I'd probably add in another D8 for history. But if I'm also like doing this while making coffee and tea for someone I could. Oh, that's embarrassing. Excuse me, everyone. I'm so sorry. So basically, your dice pool, getting back to the subject at hand, would be 2d10s and 3d8. You'd roll that, and you look for the highest numbers. So I got 2 9s, so that would be an 18. Typically, the GM would be rolling something 2 that also has its own assets and distinctions and things, and you'd compare and determine success that way. The book lays all of that out, but I just want to kind of show you how to build a pool. Let's see, put bio in here. I'll probably add a little something before we do this. Here, frequent terms, botch, all your dice come up as 1, hitch, a PC die with the result of 1, opportunity and narrator die with the result of 1. Narrator dies are dice that the narrator can give you. How to recover stress. Essentially, the character journal, they call it, contains everything you need to kind of just play, more or less, once your character is built. So let's see here. I did like the name Sigrid. You'll notice that a lot of names in the Dragon Prince don't have surnames. It's not necessarily something really done. I mean, yes, theoretically they probably have them, but it doesn't talk about it. I'm 50-50 on how I feel about that, but, you know, it is what it is. Okay, so that's Sigrid, so I'm just going to save that so I don't lose it, and we are going to close that out and make sure my window's not freaking out. I think this is... No, this is the one I want to close. Huzzah. PC2. Okay. So now we're just going to kind of do our free form. I am going for the sake of brevity, because when you do a free form, it kind of just tells you where to put stuff. What I'm going to do, however, is I'm going to use the stuff that's in the book kind of as a guide mark, but I'm not going to roll a die to pick things. I'm just going to kind of make what I want. So, freeform characters, you'll find that on page 127. So you'll pick 3 distinctions, 1 kindred, 1 vocation, 1 quirk. 17 steps between 6 attributes, offers the quick pick that you had before. 15 steps between values. Remember that you get 12 initially. That will get 12 initially from the distinctions we pick. And then you'll assign 5 steps between assets and specialties. No value may be greater than 8. At least 1 asset and 1 specialty. Quick picks offered. You'll choose your 9 locked SFX. You'll pick a name, pronouns, and introduce your character to the other players. Whew! That was a mouthful. So I think for this second character, I definitely want to make an elf. Because I really love the elves in this series. But let's see. I've made Skywing elves. I've made Moonshadow. I've made Earthblood. I've made Sunfire. What do I want? Let's make another she, her. And we're going to name her Solana. So the Sun Elves, just so everyone is aware... Lead to the section. I can't wait for the physical book to come. So I'm very grateful for PDFs in the gaming world, don't get me wrong, but I do find them a little clunky these days. I'm not sure why. I've just gone back to print. I can't help it. So Sunfire Elves. So they're connected to the primal source of the sun. The largest population is elves in Xadia. They have produced legendary warriors. They have legendary sun-forged weaponry. They can heat some of them can heat their skin to magma-like temperature, and it's triggered by strong emotions. They're strong. They're warriors. They're passionate. They are badasses, and they are also a little arrogant. I mean, if you watch the show, I think their arrogance is somewhat earned, but it is a character trait as a society. And I think that's something to kind of keep in mind. So I've made two characters that they're theoretically being played together. We have this brooding teacher from a very pragmatic people who failed at doing something. I think she probably failed to stop history from repeating itself, for lack of a better term. Maybe she could have stopped a battle or tried to, by pointing to like things in her society was completely cast aside for her view. It didn't make her bitter and jaded. It made her brooding, but I think that's okay. So what do I want to take with this Sunfire Elf in a very proud, very militaristic type of people, and what do I want to make with that? Well, I definitely know I want to make a mage. So that will come into play in just a moment. But first things first, we start with uh, Sunfire Elves. They get +1 mastery, which is cool. And so, Kindred. Remember how I said earlier that elves only have the one family thing, which is elf, and it gives them a +1 devotion. And you just put that here. Sunfire Elf. And we'll look at distinctions here in just a minute. Again, I'm only probably going to make value statements for the two highest values I end up with in the end. So when you choose a vocation, you can probably choose anything you want, but rules as written for a mage, you choose your type. So I will be a sun mage. Now, you can use this in a variety of ways, because you still have to pick your adjective. But first things first, sun mages get a dot of glory. So mastery and glory for a Sunfire Elf. Did I raise my devotion? I did. Okay. For a Sunfire Elf Sun Mage. Now, it says here, and I know it sounds a little confusing. So, if you want to play magic using characters such as a Rune Mage or a Dark Mage, you need a magical vocation. As a Sunfire Elf, you're playing a Rune Mage, for the record. You do runes to cast your spells. Magical vocations are special. They can be paired up either with a common adjective or a common vocation. With the former, pair the type of mage, such as Sky Mage or Dark Mage, with an adjective such as hot-headed. With the latter at the primal. With the latter... Wait 1 second. Okay, so if I go vocation, it's mage, and it's Sky Mage. You see. If I go with... no, it's hot-headed Sky Mage, sorry. So it'd be a hot-headed Sky Mage if I did that. If I chose a different vocation, it'd be like Sun, Acolyte, or Dark Counselor. I think I'm going to go vocation with this, so it's going to be a Sun something. So Sun... Ooh, so many things. Sun Disciple, which gives me +1 mastery. So I already know off the bat that her being masterful and like the best at what she does is very important to her. But I don't want her to be quite that hard, I don't think. So I think I'm going to pick an interesting quirk. I did something very mental with the human and the Dolbar, and I kind of want her to complement her in some way. Just looking through this list. Interesting. I think I'm going to go with my time to shine, which kind of is funny considering the sun. And I think she's trying to like constantly prove herself in a society that demands excellence. Excuse me. So my time to shine gives +1 glory and +1 mastery, which is right in line with everything, really. But I think I'm taking it to an interesting situation. Okay, so I have 3 steps. Now, she has a lot of values at 4. I don't like that. So I'm going to raise her justice, her liberty, and her truth to 4. And I think that is everything that I need for her values. Let's just double check. 15 steps between values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 15. So I'll be making value statements for mastery, and I'll probably do it for mastery and glory. Let me just put a star here so I know which two to come back to. Love it when it freaks out, don't you? Okay, so 17 steps between attributes. Let's see. I definitely want a D10 for awareness. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's do another D10. Let's do a D6. D6. So let's see. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 3 more. So I'm gonna do agility as a D6 and spirit as a D8. I actually kind of like this better because I like having 3 average and like 2 really good and 1 slightly above average. I find this a much more interesting spread than the 2 they provide. But what? Oh, you're gonna. Oh, okay. Well, she probably deserved it. She's been a butt this evening. If you're in the chat, you'll notice that my roommate is talking about my dog being a little butthead, and we will just leave that at that. Okay, so with specialties and assets for mages, it's a little different. You get a special magical vocation. As a sun mage, you get guiding flare. When you take up or step up angry stress, you spend a plot point to create a 6 asset for another character. We'll get to that when we get to that. So to have spells, you have to take a magical specialty and an asset. So every character is in one. So the specialty is the type of mage you are. So my specialty is going to be Sun Mage. I can type, I swear to God, friends. I know this doesn't look like that. But I'm going to make Sun Mage a D6. And with my assets, I'm going to make that a D8. And that's going to be Sun Magic. And I'm making this a D8. It's a little min-maxy. If I had switched these and the Sun Magic was a D6, I'd get 2 spells. At the D8, I get 3 spells. But I think that's kind of in line with this character. And we'll choose our spells here in just a minute. Ooh. Okay. Now you can do more spells in this, but these are like your 3 special spells, more or less. So let's see. I have 5 steps, so this is, that doesn't explain it well. I am going to step up this specialty for a D8. And then I think I'm going to give myself another asset. I can kind of see her not really having friends and connections. She's going to have a sun staff. And that could potentially be a magical asset. Or a magical object, which is fine. Who knows? We'll define what that is in game. So now, more or less, we are ready to go to distinctions. If I can scroll over here real quick. And we can start playing with that. And then we can kind of get this ball rolling because we don't have too much longer. So Sunfires get Heat Bang. It lets you step up agility and strength, but it comes with stress. Light Bang lets you convert those characters into exhausted stress and then transfer that stress to yourself. So you can kind of take on people's trauma and pain. You have Relentless. When you'd be stressed out of a scene, spend a plot point to step down the effect of stress and remain in the scene instead. So you never give up. So right now, I kind of like Light Bang and Relentless. Probably won't go with both of those. Elves also get Elf Grace to step, like you just have more agility. Elf Senses for awareness, and Elf Might for strength. I kind of like Elf Senses. Now remember, you get 2 of these to start with. You have 9 total that you use growth to help you unlock. Okay, so let's see. Disciple. I do have a distinction from Disciple. Seeking answers. When you question a value, instead of adding a die to your growth pool, you may choose to keep that die as an asset for the rest of the session. I kind of like that. I think that weirdly complements Sigrid too, which is funny. Do the magical vocations, the Sun Mage. I don't really like Guiding Flare. I don't really see that being useful to her. My time to shine. So my time to shine, all eyes on me. Gain a plot point when making a situation about yourself makes it worse. I don't really see her as that arrogant. Truthfully, I really don't. Seeking answers definitely fits. I don't really kind of want to go relentless. I think that's making her much more aggressive than I really kind of want her to be. She's not really a healer, though, so we're going to take away Light Bang and just have Elf Senses. And I think those 2 really make sense for her, because this really, especially the fact that if you remember, on her attributes, I really went a high awareness and influence. I see her, she's almost like a leader type. Let's see. Now, let's just choose my spells, and then we'll go to those 2 distinction statements, and we'll kind of wrap up for the evening. Let's see. Let's find spells, because there is an entire chapter for being a magic user. And I have to say, like, I know I'm saying that it's hard to flip this book, but that's mostly because it's a PDF and I'm struggling with it. It is beautifully laid out. It is beautifully complex, but also simple. It really kind of showed me how interesting Cortex could be. I was really struggling with wrapping my head around all of it, and seeing an actual game made from it, like in full. The Cortex book does have 3 kind of mini examples. It really showed me how versatile a system as it is, and I'm really quite taken with it. I think it's becoming one of my new favorite, more mechanical systems, because we all know that I love a narrative game. So Sun. Sun's magic spells harness the light and heat of the sun, including fire magic and the power of healing and destruction. So if I wanted to go healer, this is where I could have gone. So you have spells like Blinding Heat, Ring of Light, Bolt of Fire, Flame Motes, Language of Ash. That's cool. Rock of Anger. Wow. Sense the Truth of the Heart, Verum Animo. Ooh. I like that one. So Verum Animo for 1. This makes me want to kind of change some of my values a little bit. Let's see. Let's do Ring of Light. Circulus Luminous. Actually, I think I'm going to take that Sun Staff away, and I might make it a specialty of Diplomacy. I think that could be really interesting. This kind of, I kind of see her transitioning to this like kind of leader ambassador. She can make a Ring of Light. She can sense deception, which makes me think that I might go. with Pumex Ire, Rock of Anger. She can sense deception. She can pull anger from people and create a circle of light. Yes. I really like that. In fact, I am going to change some things up here too. So we're going to remove this sun staff and this specialty. Bam. Look at that. Look at that. Or this asset, rather. We're going to move this up here to a specialty for a D6. And diplomacy. Okay, so mastery and... Let's see, I'm going to take glory down to 6. I'm going to bring truth up. See, do you like this adaptability? I can change. I can adapt. And I've made 2 characters that have similar value systems, so theoretically, how I built them, they would mesh really well in game. So mastery. That's actually more of probably a truth statement. Ah. So a good mastery statement. Sun magic is the root of life. So she believes fully in the power of sun magic and its ability to fix what's wrong with the world. She's really intrigued with this idea of truth and creating. If you watch the show, I can imagine she is very much on the precipice of we cannot live unless we live as one, maybe, is kind of what I'm thinking. So with her diplomacy, she's really going to become an ambassador to end the endless feuding between humanity and the elves and the dragons. So that's Solana, and you also saw Sigrid, 2 very different women who have a lot in common, perhaps more than they would ever care to admit. That was Tales of Xadia. I was really excited to do this one, guys. I know I probably say it every time, but I love making characters. I don't know. This game is really, really special, and I'm hoping I get to play it soon. I'll have a blog post about making these characters, and who knows what my actual message on that will be. It feels like I always have some like words of wisdom or something silly. But I don't know. I hope you're enjoying this. I'm enjoying bringing this to you. I really enjoy making characters and sharing them with you and talking about them and really thinking about what to do with them. I am going to go ahead and end a little bit early tonight. I hope you've enjoyed everything that you've seen. If you have any questions, hop on our Discord. You'll have links within our website, and I believe there's a link to it on the Twitch page too, but it's storytoldpodcast.com. If you've enjoyed what you see here and you'd like to would like to support us, please follow and subscribe to our channel. I'm working on planning out more streaming content so we can stream a little bit more often. Remember, every other Friday night we do The Body Electric. That would be this Friday, but I think we're taking a pause because a couple people are out of town, but I know we're going to do something, just not sure what. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I really, really enjoyed your presence, and thank you for listening to me ramble on about my favorite thing to do in the world, building characters. Have a good night, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye-bye.